Hi there, Dave with Crandall Office, and today we're going to be doing a used leap chair buying guide. So if you found a used leap chair locally, we want to show you how to make sure that the chair is working properly and also show you any common issues and things to look out for while you're purchasing that chair. So without further ado, let's get started. So I did want to note that we'll be showing this on a version 2, but the process of evaluation of these chairs between a version 1 and a version 2 is very, very similar. All right, so the first thing we want to do when you take a look at a used chair is to make sure all the functions are working properly. And so we do have another video outlining all of these functions and how to adjust them in a different video that we're going to link in the description below, but I'm just going to run through them pretty quickly here. So the first thing you're going to check is to make sure the gas cylinder is working properly. You're going to put weight on the chair, go down, make sure it comes back up, make sure that gas cylinder is raising and lowering properly. Next thing you're going to want to check is the lean back tension, which is going to be the small knob on the right here, and you're going to just dial it forward and back, make sure that it adjusts the amount of pressure it takes to lean back in the chair. Then you're also going to check this variable stop tilt lock. So put it all the way in the upright position, lean back, make sure that it stops you from leaning back. Test all the different positions. Make sure it works properly on there. Next, we're going to be taking a look at the seat slider. So you're just going to slide that seat, just make sure everything slides smoothly and locks into place. We also want to take a look at the lower back firmness knob, which is going to be this large knob on the right-hand side. Go ahead and dial that forward and backward and make sure that it adjusts how much pressure is pushing into your lower back. So you want to dial that up, should be a good amount of pressure. Dial it back down, should lower that pressure. We also want to check this lumbar sliding function and make sure that that's working properly. And then last we're going to check is the arms. Make sure that those go up and down, slide in and out, forward and back, and that you have no issues with the arms themselves and everything locks into position correctly. So now that we've gone through and function checked the chair, make sure everything's actually functioning properly, we want to take a look at a couple of cosmetic items that are easier to fix than some of the more in-depth items that we just checked on the functionality of the chair, but definitely worth looking at. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is the arm pads and the condition of those arm pads. Some of the earlier chairs did have a rubber coating over a foam pad, which tended to bubble up. You also see a lot of just kind of nicks and tears and scratches on the arm pads. Again, that's an easy thing to replace, but worth looking at when you're looking at a used chair. The next thing we're going to take a look at is going to be the fabric condition. Make sure that the fabric's in good condition. That is, again, something that you can have replaced, but it's a little bit more of a pain than something like the arm pads. So the fabric condition is kind of an important thing to look at. Lastly, you're going to be looking at the casters, see how well they roll. A lot of times the older casters kind of get gummed up and it has a difficult time rolling. Again, a very quick and easy fix, but you're adding expense when you're replacing any of these items. So the next thing we want to talk about is a few areas that we do see some failures every now and again on the leap chair. They're not common, but they are definitely worth checking if you're going to be buying a used chair. The first place you're going to be looking is where this piece comes in and attaches to the back of the chair, and we do see that there's breakages in this corner piece every now and again, and also where these screws attach to the chair frame itself. So make sure to check those areas. Next, you're going to turn the chair around. You're going to look over this entire, what we call the ribbon here, and you're going to make sure that there's no cracks or breaks in this frame on this component. Every once in a while we do see, again, not common, but we do see breaks right down the middle if it has had abuse. Those are going to be your primary issues. So any of these issues, if you see any issues in any of those areas, we tell people don't buy that chair. It's a catastrophic failure, that the chair is not easily replaceable. You're probably going to need to get rid of that chair. All right, so one thing we did want to talk about specifically with the leap chair is the difference between a version 1 chair and a version 2 chair. And the reason we talk about that is because there's a lot of people that list a version 1 chair, specifically this high back version of the version 1 chair, as a version 2. So we want to make sure that you understand the difference between a version 1 and a version 2. There's going to be a few primary differences. The first you're going to see here too is the version 2 is going to be upright back all the time. The version 1 high back has a very similar upright back, but it does have a thicker cushion. Whereas the standard version 1 chair is going to have this back that kind of rolls over on the top. It's going to be a little bit shorter because of that. But the primary way that you can really tell the difference is going to be looking at the arm mechanisms and assemblies. This is a version 2, and it has the plastic on the frame, the actual frame component, the cover, and the actual, all these components are all plastic, whereas the version 1 actually has a metal frame component here for the arm. So this part that slides in and out here is actually metal. You can also see that the actual shape of the arm pads is much different. The version 2 is a little bit thinner, a little bit sleeker design, whereas the version 1 is a little bit more rounded, a little bit larger and thicker. And so you want to make sure that you are getting what you're saying, what you're being sold. And so the version 2 typically commands a little bit of higher price than the version 1, even the high back. And so make sure that you're in the know as to what that chair actually is, and that what you're being advertised is what you're actually purchasing. So another quick thing that we did want to mention is there's a couple of variations of the Leap chair that we do recommend people that steer away from. The first one's going to be what we call the pullover or pillow style Leap chair, and this has got this pullover back pad that slides over the back frame. As you can see, I can just pull it right off. It's very thin and flimsy. The seat on this style actually pulls off as well. So you can see I can just pop that seat off and you can see how thin and flimsy that is as well. It's going to be more difficult to get upholstery for these chairs. They're typically a little bit less comfortable because of the thin padding. It's just a chair that we typically tell people it might not be worth their time or money unless it's a really, really good deal. Getting replacement fabric for this is going to be difficult. Likewise, this is a Coach Edition Leap chair that we have here. It has the same pullover style fabric as that. It has more of a standard actual seat pad, which is good, but these arm pads are really the big problem on these. You can see this is actually kind of a see-through hollow style arm pad that we see here. These are notorious for breaking down and failing prematurely and very, very difficult to source. Because it was a limited edition run on these arm pads, we don't know of anywhere that you can actually purchase these arm pads other than through Steelcase, and they're very, very expensive. So wanted to mention that these are two variations of the Leap chair that you might want to consider looking elsewhere if you do find. All right, so the last thing that we wanted to talk about is going to be the date that the chair was made. And you can find this information on the bottom of the seat of the chair. To find that tag, what you're going to want to do is slide the seat into the rearmost position and then turn the chair on its side or upside down. And you're going to see this tag right here underneath. You can see right here, you're going to have a manufacturing date. That's going to be the most important information on this tag. And it's going to tell you what year and what date specifically that the chair was made. Now, a newer chair is always going to be a little bit better than an older chair, but that's not what's really important here. We want to highlight a couple of different dates here. The first one is going to be February 16th of the year 2000. That will be a V1 chair, but anything made before that date is going to use an older style gas cylinder that's very difficult to source and very expensive to source. So you're going to be looking at a very large bill if that cylinder does happen to fail and you do need to replace it. The other date that we want to look at is going to be January 19th, 2009, and that's when the version 2 Leap chair switched to a side activated cylinder. Not that big of a deal, both are easily and readily available. One's not better than the other, but wanted to mention it so you had that information. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. If you found it helpful, go ahead and click the like and subscribe buttons below. If you've got any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out to us on our website, crandalloffice.com, our Facebook page, anywhere you can reach us, we're always here to help. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time. You're also going to be, I should probably said that earlier, huh? More commonly on the Leap, not more commonly. So the last thing we, All right, so the last thing, right out the gate. The last thing. All right.